Welcome to Fen Tour and welcome to my 20-year review of the GSX1400. Yes, 20 years. Let's get on with it.
Welcome on board the GSX1400. I've looked at this for you for over 20 years, on and off, and it's still lovely. It's still a fantastic machine, one I absolutely love to ride. I love to look at because it looks the bollocks. 20 years and still think it looks awesome. Do you think it looks awesome? Okay, it's got a bit of corrosion here and there, but it's all original. No, nothing's been done to the paintwork or anything. Sadly, you know, it's a 20-year patina. But underneath, inside the engine, it's only just running. It's angry. Wants to be ridden. I never test rode one prior to buying it. Just bought. Why did I buy it? Well, it was a time of retro muscle bikes. There was the XJR1300, this GSX1400, and the ZRX, I think, 1200 from Kawasaki. Oh yeah, three big beasties, and they compared them in Motorcycle News. This was a new boy on the block, you could say, and well, biggest engine, so that helps. But it did come out tops in the Motorcycle News review. Fuel injection, of course. What is absolutely wonderful about GSX 1400 is it still feels quite agile, even after 20 years. I think a few modifications I made really changed this bike for the better, and I'll go through those shortly. And without those modifications, I probably would have sold it. It's not for sale. I'm keeping this till I'm in the coffin. So, a 20-year review. People review bikes, don't they? They go out for a half-hour test ride, and it's a review on YouTube. Oh, I think I might have done that. Whoops. But yeah, it's not like owning something, is it? You know, when you've had something a few weeks or months or a year, and it starts to have some validity, a review, proper validity, because you get to know all the issues. Well, firstly, I've only ever had one issue with this, which was a misfire, and you may have seen it in my previous videos. It was the spark plugs. I think they just got a bit old. No, they weren't the originals, you say. One of them had gone a bit flaky, I think, and that was it. Spark plug. Only problem, this bike, 20 years, spark plug. The engine, 1402, I think, cc. Suzuki oil-cooled. Built for mid-range muscle. And that's certainly what it has. Just so easy to stay in top gear and be lazy. Probably why I kept it. Because it suits my lazy riding, not having to change down gears to overtake and all that sort of stuff. It's lovely. These 1400s are now selling in good condition for more than I paid for it. It's brand new. This was £5,350. Oh yes, that's all it was. Bargain. Now something you'll notice if you look at the speedo, you're doing 60 miles an hour, just under 3,000 revs. Look at that. And that's the lovely thing about this bike. It's so relaxing. Yet you don't need to go down lots of gears. Just open this, and it does this. Brilliant. Should I call this a review? I just love this machine. How many times have I seen the GSX 1400 forums and Facebook, I regret selling it? Well, bought another one now, 10 years on. Why did you ever sell that bike? Why did I sell it? Oh, it's so lovely. I've never had a bike as good. People buying these now thinking just most awesome bike I've ever had. And out of my stable of lovely machines, this has an absolute place in a special way for relaxing, power, sound, comfort, because it is bloody comfortable, looks good. It's 20 years old and it still, in my opinion, looks the bollocks. What do you think? Do you think it looks shit? Do you think it looks good? Right, so I'm on my favourite trips, taking lovely scenic roads nearly all the way up to the coast. Hopefully get a cup of tea, maybe a bacon sandwich or something for breakfast. It is a bank holiday Monday, April 2022. So actually I've had this just over 20 years in a month. Got it in March 2002. Lucky me. And let's tell you about what's really kept my interest in this machine. Well, the one is, I've never seen a bike that you could replace it with. No one builds a 4-cylinder, no one's built a 4-cylinder engine bigger than this. Have they? Am I wrong? Not standard bike anyway. So after about 5 years, I was getting bored of the 1400. I loved the way it looked. It had twin exhausts, massive chrome exhausts. From behind they looked wonderful. Looked good. And those that prefer these original, it's a beautiful machine. And I resisted going down the performance route because performance exhausts, the good ones, the ones that gave the most power, torque, made the engine run the best, everyone knew it was a 421, and the king of those, Akropovic, of course. Beautifully made, beautifully engineered, but it meant only having the one side exhaust. And, you know, why did I make a fuss and back off from that for so long? Why did I hold back? I don't honestly know, but I did. Eventually the limitations of performance got to me because above about 5,000 RPM the engines would hold back. It just didn't want to rev. Exhaust, standard exhaust is so restrictive, almost deliberately so. There's such a big engine, to get it to produce a little bit of power, which is meant to be about 103 or something, and the best way to do that was to put a restrictive exhaust on. Kept the French happy when they had a 100 horsepower limit at the time, so we could sell these in France. I think that might be bollocks. Comment below if it is. Anyway, so the exhaust restricted it tremendously. There was a guy many of the GSX1400 owners went to for such upgrades. Sadly retired, or maybe not sad for him, but sadly retired. His name was Paul, or Grumpy. I don't know why he was called Grumpy, but anyway, he had a performance tuning company called Dyno Speed Developments and knew exactly what to do to these bikes. So this went down, and two things he said: it's not just the performance you're going to notice, but it is also the weight. You're going to notice a huge drop in weight. First of all, he dynoed as stock. One of the highest power outputs he'd seen from a stock GSX1400 at 108 horsepower. So not bad, wasn't bad, 108 horsepower. So I went for a 421 Akropovic system with a removable baffle, and without the baffle in, it still isn't very loud. Gives it a little bit more gain on top, but it allows the bike to breathe. And you have to remove the centre stand, so that went. So we have this huge heavy exhaust, which I still have in my loft, garage loft, and centre stand that you can half lift. And then a lightweight, superbly made Akropovic, beautifully welded, free-flowing exhaust replacing it. losing around 20 kilograms from the stock weight of this bike. So, regardless of the power, the bike in the corners was transformed. Absolutely transformed. It's quite a light machine. Probably a little over 200 kilograms, if any. So this is a light machine with a big engine. Could be better, eh? It'd be set up so that every RPM and throttle opening, the fueling is spot on. Transformed everything. 126 horsepower, will rev up to the red line, no issue. I think I've only ever tried that once. You know what I'm like, I tend to stick the lower down. But it gave more low down performance as well. Pulled harder, 105 pounds of torque. So everything was improved. And it's a totally satisfying bike to ride. And I still think it actually looks beautiful. In fact, I think it looks better with the Akropovic system. Yeah, it's not chromy. It's stainless steel and what have you. But I do think it looks good. Another issue, but that was solved quite easily and quickly when I first got the bike, was the ride. It tended to wallow everywhere and bounce around and a bit floaty. It still is. But luckily, not long after I purchased it, I think probably within a year, Motorcycle News did a suspension setup review. The suspension has full control of whatever suspension has control of, front and rear, you know. Wake up, Grandad. No idea, eh? Luckily you can hear. It's still sitting there. What a lemon. Anyway, so I set it up. They had a few different settings. I can't remember exactly what the article looks like. If I can find it, I'll stick it on the screen, if I can find a copy. Or you can search the internet. I think there's copies on there somewhere. But yeah, I twiddled the bits, set it up. 10 minutes later, fine. And I've not adjusted it since, and it's pretty good. I'm sure it could be adjusted more effectively. It's GSX1400. Should you get one of these? There's beautiful ones out there. You get one that looks like it's been cared for. Mileage, maybe not an issue. I mean, I've heard of these going well over 100,000 miles and no issues to the engine. Nothing. So, don't worry too much about mileage. Just look at the condition. Has it been cared for? Ideally, one that's got most of the original parts with sensible tuning additions like a full Akropovic exhaust. You can't get these exhausts anymore new. So if you want one, second hand, if you can get one, you'd be very lucky. But you know, there are other full exhaust systems that I'm sure are reasonably close. Then get it set up on the dyno, or get someone to set it up on the dyno. Here we are, top gear, just to prove. See, shake. I deliberately put that in top gear to show you the torque. Ooh. Hell. When the RPM goes over 5, hold on for dear life. Do you know, actually, I think I might negate the Baker roll. Just up here is Bircham. You might have seen on one of my previous videos with David last year. They make the Norfolk Pasty. Oh yes. It's not a Cornish pasty, it's a Norfolk pasty. Delicious. A little bit similar to a Cornish pasty, but better. So, will they have one? Let's have a look. A word of warning with the 1400, because of its immense power, lazy engine. I did have a little screen on here, which got rid of a lot of the wind off me got the weight off my shoulders, which meant I could cruise at higher speeds. I'm going 60, 70 most of the time here, and not a problem. With that screen, 100 miles an hour, not a problem. They're too easy. Literally cruise all day at 100. And the engine's just, oh, is that all you want me to do? Is that all? So, I took it off. Because it just ended up going too fast. Right. Bircham Cafe and Deli Village Shop. This is awesome. Coming off a ride up in Norfolk. You must visit. We don't have to visit. I thoroughly recommend you do though, because it's bloody good.
Now this is the live coffee and Norfolk Pasty. Oh. Delicious. Better than the Cornish pasty. Don't know why. Maybe it's just here at Bircham Stores and Deli.
Just met some guys at Bircham. One of them used to have one of these, and he regretted selling it. There you go. Everybody who's had one of these has always regretted not keeping it. But if you can get one, there's plenty of them around in good condition. Get one before they get too expensive, because you won't get bored of the thrust. You really won't. You won't get bored of the looks. It looks good in blue and white. Some would argue other colours look okay, but there we go. So all you need to know though again about this bike is that, especially with the Akropovic system, it's got more power, thrust, Fen Tour can handle, more power and thrust than your license can handle as well. Great for two-up as well, I should say. Great to take passenger. Superb. Brilliant two-up machine. All that torque makes it easy. You know, it's not too high a seat, easy to sit on, easy to control. Not a problem. So, should you buy one of these? Here's an important tip. Why is the seller selling it? There we go. Answer that question satisfactorily, and you could get yourself a gorgeous retro, or should I say classic now, muscle bike. One of the nice things, talking quietly now, about this Akropovic system is it does have that crackle. It does pop sometimes. When you open it up, it's a little bit louder than standard. Sounds as it should do, but it's not too loud. And as you can hear, I'm going through this village. It's not really. The tractors make a lot more noise. It's just burbling along. You can hear the cams. You can hear the birds. Oh, I can't actually hear the birds. I've got the earplugs in. But it's not going to upset anyone, is it? That's really good. This Akropovic system, which you cannot buy anymore, with the removable baffle, is pretty quiet. Pretty quiet. And yet it gives the maximum power you could possibly get out of this engine without going to a race system. Not you really want to have a race system on a road bike, would you? So yeah, you can sneak through a village like this without upsetting anyone, because it pulls happily just over tick over. I'll stop whispering down. Isn't it lovely up here in Norfolk? For those of you not familiar with this route that I've taken today, take a look at the video above where I show you how on the Fat Mob. It's very stable, holds its line ever so well in corners, and yet it's quite a comfortable ride. It's unbelievably quick. It's by far my quickest accelerating bike, except for the electric Rebelli. This is like quickest by far. Talk about some of the other important things you may want to consider. The brakes, more than adequate for Fen Tour. 6 pots at the front. At the time, they were state of the art. Probably state of the arc now, as in the arc, you know. Anyway, but they're fine. So just arriving in Sunny Hunny. Yep, looks like there are quite a few bikes here. Is there space for the Suzuki? Is there space somewhere? There's space down here, I think. Lovely. Wow, was that visit unstandard, but great. I was there 2.5 hours, just nattering to other bikers. Awesome. Anyway, heading my way home now on some lovely roads. Conclusion for the GSX1400: don't sell it if you have one. If you ever thought about getting one, get one now. The prices are getting silly. Maybe it's too late already, but anyway, let's give you my ultimate positive: the engine. I'm short shifting all the time, as you can see. Let's just, there's nothing behind me. I'm going to slow down. 5th gear, 4th gear, 3rd gear. So at 30 miles an hour, we'll change up at 4,000. Are you ready? Whoops. The torque is brilliant. Now, that's a huge 1400 gulping air and chucking it through that Akropovic. Brilliant. Now let's get to blur the old speedo. Bloody hell, that's too fast for Fen Tour. You can look again now. So, if you want to go quick, you're not going to be disappointed, because this is going to give it to you. If you can control all that power, then you are better than Fen Tour by a long way. So let's go to the negatives. Can't really think of any. Not for a 20-year-old bike. It's just awesome. You're not going to get a new bike with an engine like this with so much grunt, thrust and fun. There's nothing like it. If you get one, don't sell it. If you have one, you regret selling it, comment below. Have you had a 1400? Do you regret selling it? Please comment below, let me know. But negatives. Yeah, it's old, so there's no luxuries, there's no safety features, no cruise control, no heated grips. You can fit heated grips. I like cruise control because I'm old. It's not a big negative. There's no traction control. That is potentially a negative, especially on a wet road with all this power and torque. But not to the skilled rider, not an issue. Anti-lock brakes, none of those. The brakes are awesome. The tyres I've got are good. But again, skilled rider in the wet on a wet road, shouldn't be too many issues. But of course, ABS is an added safety feature that 20-year-old bikes don't have. So you've got to bear that in mind. Aside from that, can't fault it. I'm happy to sell bikes. I'm not someone who holds on to a bike for no reason. Why have I held on to this for 20 years? Why am I happy to sell a GS and buy another GS? There's the answer. Sell the GS and buy another GS. So I sold the 1200 GS, or part exchange it for the 1250. So basically, I didn't compromise on anything. I had all the good bits of the old GS with all the extra good bits of the 1250. More grunt, more power, suspension improvements, heated seat, of course. Still look the bollocks. I didn't miss out on anything by trading that in. You can't trade this in for anything. There is nothing to replace it. That's why you can't sell it. You got it. And one day, the way the world's going, we won't have any petrol to put in bikes anymore. We'll be forced, or it seems we're being forced, to go electric or whatever. We actually don't have nothing to afford electricity, let alone petrol, to go anywhere. We'll be forced to use public transport to be environmentally friendly and all that bollocks. Thank you, Greta Thunberg, for all of your stuff. Not. So, those of us living in an era of petrol, we've been lucky to be here. It's coming to an end by the looks of it. An era of fun and noise. Yeah, I love my electric bike, I love my electric car. I don't want to be forced to lose this. As long as I can get petrol, as long as I can afford the petrol, I'm going to keep the GSX1400. There you go. Maybe one day it'll just be an ornament in the dining room. I'm so enjoying riding the 1400 today. I just forget time and time again. Just the sheer riding pleasure, back to basics, that this bike gives me. Absolutely wonderful. Get to third gear. Sit forward and go! Bloody hell. Slow down. 111.9 miles since I filled up. Just filled up again. 11.76 litres, 21 pounds and 4p. So let's work that out in the good old fashioned miles per gallon. Answer above.
On my way home now, not far to go. Anyway, the 1400, 20 years, it's just awesome. I can't really fault it. If you have one, don't sell it. I've spoken to 3 or 4 people today at Hunstanton. Oh, I used to have one. I wished I hadn't sold it. Another guy came up, two other guys came up. My 1400's over there. There were 3 or 4 other 1400s at Hunstanton. They're quite popular. Get yourself a good one, look after it, and it's going to look after you. You're going to love riding it and love looking at it. Anyway, please comment below. Anything at all. Don't be shy. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's video and on the GSX 1400. We'll see you on Fen Tour very soon. Bye bye.